Welcome, everyone. You are in the right place to see updates to the Productivity Now platform with your presenters, Don and Kevin. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jenna. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar on the new features that were launched in Productivity Now earlier this week. Before we get started into that presentation, I'd like to just take a moment and say I'm really excited to bring these new features to you. These features are the results of, most of them are results of enhancement requests that were received from our customers like yourselves. And we really feel that these new features extend the value and the functionality of the platform to bring it to a whole new level for your organization. One other last note before I go into the actual slide deck here. Just keep in mind, or a reminder, that our Productivity Now system is based on the same platform that the Eagle Point's Pinnacle Series system is. With that, we've got a presenter today from Eagle Point. So if one of us makes a mistake and we say Pinnacle Series instead of Productivity Now, just know that the base platform functionalities are the same. In the Productivity Now side, we just take the Pinnacle Series and we're basically bringing our content and additional functions and such beyond that. So to get started, the agenda for today is pretty straightforward. We'll do quick introductions. Then I'm going to talk real briefly about a minor change in how we've structured our Ascent learning curriculum into the new version of the Productivity Now. And then I'm going to hand the presentation off to Dawn to review the new features and functions. And as Jenna said, then we'll wrap things up with a quick Q&A session at the end. So to kick things off, my name's Kevin Keeker. I am the Vice President of Training and Support Solutions here at Imaginet Technologies. I've been with the organization for a little over 28 years now. And as my title implies, I oversee our teams that provide training, both instructor-led as well as the e-learning here, and our technical support organization. Joining me today will be Don Quinn from Eagle Point Software. Don is a senior product specialist and has been with Eagle Point for about 24 years. His background is in the engineering space, where he spent several years as a technical trainer dealing with the Autodesk civil engineering tools. And then for the last few years, he's been a technical expert creating e-learning content and such within the Pinnacle Series and our Productivity Now platform, and helping large customers implement and adopt the Eagle Point's Pinnacle Series platform to be a robust e-learning solution within their organizations. So to kick things off, I'm going to start here and talk real quickly. We recently made a change to the way we've structured our Ascent curriculum within the Productivity Now platform. So in the past, you were used to seeing an asset library on the left-hand side for Ascent content. What we've done based on user feedback is we've taken that curriculum now and we've integrated it within the Autodesk library of products so that your users only have to go one place to go find e-learning content for a particular product. So in this instance here, if you drill into Autodesk, now Civil 3D, you'll now notice that within the Learning Path section, you have two options. One being the Ascent curriculum, which is the same curriculum that we had before. All of your existing enrollments, things like that you had into the curriculum all stays the same. It's just a slightly different place to where you go find it now. The whole intent with this is to make it easier and users don't have to pick, oh, do I want Ascent or do I want to look at somebody else's content? It's all grouped together in one place. So hopefully that change makes it a little bit simpler and makes it easier for you and your users to find it. So, with that, I am going to hand the presentation off to Don to talk about the new features and functionality within the platform. With that, Don, I'll let you take it away. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, everyone, for attending and invite me to share some of these new features with you. The core features that we've added in this, I'm going to kind of highlight them off the get-go here. But I always like to point out that with any new release, there's other things that I'm probably not going to get into today, but we always do enhancements to the platform, minor things that you'll notice along the way as well. So in addition to what I'm going to show you today, there will be some other little tidbits you'll be able to take advantage of while you're using the platform. But to showcase today, we're going to talk about one of the key elements that we added to the platform. It's along the lines of the learning enhancements. You're going to notice that we've integrated live events into the Pinnacle platform. Many of our clients and users are familiar with the e-learning that we have, but now we're adding live events so that you can capture information that you may be hosting live. It could be a webinar, it could be a live training session, but we want to be able to capture that information and combine it into the full learning experience. And so we're going to talk about that. The term that we like to use here is blended learning, so we can bring all these components together. And with that blended learning, we can leverage a lot of the content Pinnacle series. We can leverage that e-learning to build prerequisites so folks come to your live events prepared and ready to tackle some of the topics that you're presenting. We're going to talk about how you can create sessions and invite folks into the sessions, and how you can track information. There's a lot of metadata that you can capture with these events so that you can use the information to plan and prepare for these hosted events that you're doing. All right. And another very exciting feature that I'm going to be happy to talk about is auto enrollments, where you can automatically put users into courses and or learning paths. So I'll go through and share that with you today as well. Another big area that you're going to see improvements in this release is around the area of work groups. We've had work groups out for a while now, and we've got a lot of good feedback. Like Kevin said, clients are sharing a lot of good ideas with us to expand, parts of our platform. And in this area in particular, there's a lot of things that we kind of took on to make enhancements in particular to the work groups, and I'll share those with you today. Some of the bullet items that you see here is the ability to invite people into your work group from outside of your organization. Okay, so you can have sub-consultants and other folks that you're working with on projects. You can share some of the assets from your Pinnacle platform or from your ProductivityNOW platform with them as an external user. You'll be able to track consumption and the usage of those assets for that work group. And then you can also even create open enrollment membership, they're actually open membership work groups where other folks can opt in to some of the work groups that you're creating. And then the last key item that I'm going to cover today is the customization element of the platform. We're continuing to expand this so that you can really tailor the Pinnacle platform to brand it, to make it look and feel like your organization. We've expanded the home screen and the learning center where you can widgetize those environments, where you can add widgets to basically make the page what you want it. You can turn off features that you don't want, turn on features that you do. So I'll share that with you kind of at the latter part of our presentation here today. All right, so with that being said, let me go ahead and bring open my Pinnacle series. And I'm going to let this on my screen. It's going to cover up my slide in just a little bit here. But before I get into this, I want to point out the areas that we have changed in this update. They're going to involve the web portal. So immediately, starting on March 9th, which was earlier in the week, you'll notice that probably the interface changed just a slight bit. So the web portal has changed, but then also the management utility. And that's where I'm going to start today, is in the management utility. So if you're interested in getting the latest and greatest, you can access the management utility from your home page. But that allows you to download the ProductivityNOW management utility so that you can do the customizations, or you can look at some of the things I'm going to share with you here today. All right, to get us started, I'm going to go into Manage Content. And in Manage Content, one of the elements that you'll see here is the Live Events tab. And this basically replaces what was called the Classes tab before. We just expanded it so that you can create and manage all of your live events in this one location. So when you go to this tab, you're going to see a similar layout over here on the left, kind of the tree view where you can manage your live events. And then over here on the right are the sessions that you've created for your live events. So I'm going to take you through, I'm going to introduce these new concepts to you and also share with you the general workflow that you will use when working with the live events. But let me start by saying you can build live events for a variety of different things. Again, I mentioned them before, like a webinar, a lunch and learn, or it could be a live event that's spanning multiple days, like a training session, a hands-on training session that you're offering. All right, the live event is going to live over here on the left. And I'm just going to take a live event that I've already worked on here. We're just going to show you some of the settings so I don't have to populate these as I talk. But inside of the live event, you're going to see some basic setup elements for the live event. First and foremost, you're going to give a title to your live event. That's how other people are going to find it. They'll find a lot of these live events by name in their calendars, which I'll show you a little bit later. And then down below, you can specify the training time. Again, this is kind of important. If your live event spans multiple days, you want to keep track of how much time they're actually spending on the training. You can add that into this live event so that it's getting reported correctly in the system. Right. You can also attach an image to the live event just to kind of stamp it so you folks would recognize it by the image icon as they see it. Down below are the custom properties. Now, these are the important things about the live event. There's really 4 categories of these, and I'll try my best to explain them to you so you have a good understanding of how they work. But you'll see there's an additional information area, a registration area, tracking, and survey. All right, the additional information is metadata that you want to add to live events. There might be certain information that you want to capture with the live event. This could be something that you're going to use later for reporting. Some examples that I have right here is as an instructor or an event coordinator of that live event, I might want to capture some details like who is my target audience? What disciplines am I inviting to this live event? And you just fill out a basic template and identify what that attribute or property is that you want to capture, whether or not it's going to be visible to the user in the event details. And then you can fill in from some of the different values below the type of input that you want to provide for that live event. All right, so again, just look at it as capturing additional metadata, things that you want to report on. Another example that I included here is if your live event's going to require them to fill out a billing code, charge their time to something, you can add that into the live event and make it visible to the user. Okay, so again, just something for them as they're logging their time, they can always go back and they can look at that information. And again, you can use a text field, a number field. I'll talk about some more of these as we go through them, but you'll just see that's how you can capture that information and communicate it to the folks that are looking at this live event. The registration area is your opportunity to capture feedback from the people registering for your event. Some different things that you might want to know is, have you ever been to one of these events before? So that you know how to prepare, for the folks that are going to be attending. Another thing is if you're going to be offering food, you might want to know, does the user have any food allergies you need to be aware of? Things, again, that will help you plan for the event. And then, of course, if you are offering food, you can even ask them what food preference they have and include some options for them. So again, I just use this as an example so that you can see, you can fill in the multiple choice just as your way of getting information from those attending so that you can plan, prepare, make sure you got the right foods for the folks that are attending. All right. So that's the registration information. They're going to see that when they register for the event, and I'm going to show that to you so you can get that full experience from that standpoint as well. The tracking area is for you, the instructor or the event organizer, to be able to come in and log information about the event as it's taking place or shortly after it's completed. For example, if you're offering in the middle of that live event, you're offering some type of a test or a quiz, you might want to have capture the test score. And so you can come in here and use the tracking as a way to capture additional information. Okay, so these are things about that live event. You don't want to just write them down on a piece of paper. You actually want to capture them with that event so that you can report on this information later. Okay? And you can do things like pre-test scores, post-test scores, so that you can kind of use that to do some other analytics that you might be planning. Right? You might also want to add attendee notes, like if someone has to get up and leave, or if there's some other, something else that occurred during that event that you want to log. Again, the instructor can come in here anytime and kind of fill in the text details that's available for this attribute. Okay, so if you set it up like this, again, the instructor will be able to go in after the event and just log some information for that. And then the final item right here is a user survey. At the completion of a live event, you can send users an email to ask them to take a survey, or if they click in their calendar after the event's completed, they'll be able to go through and fill out their survey. Again, what you're trying to find out from the survey is, did they appreciate the content that was presented? Was it helpful? How did the instructor do communicating the information? So you can use general statements like that, and you can even have a rating question, which is a 5-star rating question that you can use just to see how the attendees responded to the questions that you present them. All right. So those are the custom properties that we're going to capture with the live event. So you can see where those are basically mapped out. And then up here, if you're planning a live event and there's something you want the users to complete, you know, for example, if I'm doing something that's more of a intermediate advanced level type training, I'm probably going to want them to come and have some prerequisites. I want to make sure that they complete the fundamentals. So we're not, you know, focusing on basic questions they might be bringing up. We can actually have them have some knowledge and experience coming into the event. If you attach a prerequisite, they have to complete that prerequisite before they can register for the event. Okay, if they don't, it will tell them what they need to complete prior to registering. All right, down below are just some event details, some information that you can add to the event. So when users see this in their calendar, they'll have a little more information about what that event is, who's presenting it. So you can really add anything you want into this area. And then you can even add in if there's some additional information, like maybe I want them to see some of the other new features that were added in the past. It's not necessarily a prerequisite, but just some additional reference materials. You can include those in as well. Okay, so these are just links to other assets throughout the platform. All right, so that's the general basis of a live event. You're creating this kind of this big container with all the objectives and all the things that you want to track and have available. Okay, and to build this or to create your live event, you do need to have managed content permissions in the platform. Okay, so you need that ability so that you can come in here and add the live event on that left-hand panel. The next step now is once you have the live event is to schedule it. When you schedule it, you're basically putting it into the calendar and then it becomes open to other people to register for it. Okay, and a simple way to do that is you can come over here in the calendar and you can click around the calendar to interact with it. In this example right here, I can right click to add a new session on this day. And when you add a new session to the calendar, it's going to copy down all of the properties from whatever live events you select. So I'll be able to select from my business operations or my design services which event I want. And when I do that, it copies these custom properties that I just showed you. It copies them down to the session level. So I can either remove or add additional custom properties to my session. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. You select the live event, copies it down. Over here, you can change the training time if you want for the session. So if it's different from the live event, you can change it right here. Again, this is for logging purposes. We're reporting this on the back end, so you want to make sure that you're putting the right time in here in hours and minutes. Down below, you can specify when the event's going to start. So you can just pick, use the calendar to pick the start and end time. And if there's a recurrence, you can specify a recurrence as well. If there's a physical location, you know, like for example, one of our conference rooms here, you can specify the conference room. And again, this is going to show up in the event details. That's really where it comes. So if your event is something that people can attend in person, at least they'll be able to go to the event details and look at it. Otherwise, you can put in a link to a web meeting. Okay, and this will actually create a live link for them as well. So basically how this will work for them, when a user sees this in their calendar, they'll be able to click that link that you provide, they'll be able to join the meeting right on the spot. So make sure you include a good active meeting into this location when you're creating the event. Down below are some other registration options that you can use. If you want to limit the registration over a certain period of time, you can just toggle this option on and specify when it's going to be open for enrollment and when the enrollment closes. Basically, every session that you create is open enrollment to everyone within your organization. So again, everyone can open it, enroll into it, but you can limit the time frame for which they can do that right here. And if you want to make your event private, you can actually come here and you can use the settings to specify whether it's going to be private to select people within your organization, by work group, which are actually created and managed inside of the web portal, or by Pinnacle group, which are created and managed inside of the management utility. All right, so you can define, again, who you want to restrict it to. If it is private, then again, that open enrollment piece is totally out the window. Okay, it's only going to be available to those folks that you select here. And then lastly, If you want to limit your registration, you can just limit the registration size. Basically, all we're doing is saying the 11th person that comes in is going to be turned away because it's full. You can create a waiting list if you do have a large capacity. And in the event of a waiting list, if somebody does drop out or unregisters, the next person in line on the waiting list will be automatically registered into the event, right? And so also if the class session size increases, that will occur as well. Okay, so those are just some of the options you can use for the registration process. As I mentioned before, you can also customize some of the properties here if you want to expand them or remove some of them. But when you're all set, you just go ahead and hit save. It will put the live event into the calendar, and now it's ready for folks to start enrolling. And I'm going to show you what that process looks like in just a second. But before I leave here, if you have permissions in our platform to enroll people into learning, you can actually invite and assign people into the session right here, kind of on the spot. You can actually right-click on the item, or you'll find it over here as well when you find your live event, and you'll see this option to invite or assign users. And this allows you to select one of two options. Okay, so there's a difference between invite and assign. If you invite somebody, you're just notifying them that this event is out there, and you're going to give them a link to register right on the spot. So if they're reading their email, they can get quick access. The assign option is a little bit different. You're actually reserving a spot inside of that session for a particular user. So it's a little bit, it's your way of saying, hey, we need you to attend this, and it is going to reserve that spot for the user. So how you can do your invitations is you can come in here and you can specify by group or individual. And if I'm going to do mine by group, I'm just going to select a group I created. It's a small group of people that I can easily manage here. But you can invite people just by selecting, that Pinnacle group. I can remove somebody from that list before I send out my invitations, and I can send the invitations out. They're going to get an email, which I'll show you here in just a second, but everybody that I sent it to that's on this list will receive an email with a link to register for the event. Right, now the difference, if I assign somebody, I can assign an individual user, and I'll pick the guy that I removed from the previous one. And if I assign somebody, it's going to send a very similar type invitation. Again, it'll have slightly different wording, but the registration process will be pretty much the same. Okay, so that's how you can invite people specifically, kind of nudge them a little bit if you want. Do it through these invitations. All right, now in the email, I'm going to share with you, let's take this one right here. Okay, let's download the pictures. In the invitation email, it's going to look something like this. It's going to resemble this, I should say. So a lot of those event details and things that were filled out inside of the live event are going to be carried forward. There's the description that you included and the billing code. That's that additional information that I chose to share with those registering for the event. So that's what they're going to see inside of their email. They can complete the registration by clicking on this, and we're going to take them to their homepage to sign in. And we're going to bring them a registration page front and center. So it's a little bit cleaner way for them to register for that event. They can do it right here on the spot, and they just fill out this information to register for the event. A few things you'll notice is at the bottom, this is where those registration questions kick in. So if I'm going to be attending this live event, I can fill out the information and make my sandwich preference to register for the event. Okay. From there, it'll allow me to go right into Pinnacle Series, and I can view the event. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a quick introduction. I'm going to take you through a couple of the users that I just invited. Okay, so if you look at the top of my screen, I have a few different tabs open. Each one of these tabs is one of those users that I just invited. So right here, this is my sign-in that I have. I haven't registered yet. This is the person that just registered for the event right here, and then this is another person. Okay, I just want to show you what it's going to look like for them in the platform if they don't get that invitation email that comes out. So in this example right here, I've been invited into this. I'm going to refresh my screen. Okay, just because I had it open at the time that I created this. But you will now see that over here on the far right, there's an upcoming live events that was added into the home page. This upcoming live events will show the user what's on the docket or what's scheduled here in the upcoming few days. If you hover over top of it, you will see that anything that's open, I can come in here and I can enroll for it. Okay, so if there's something there that interests me, in this case right here, I've been invited to it. I can see from my tooltip, if I want to register for it, I can click on it right here. I can review the event details and register for the event. Okay, so same thing, I can come in here, specify what I want for my sandwich choice and submit my registration. Okay. When it's submitted, it will change colors right here. And when you hover over top of it, the user will know that they're now registered for that live event. So that's just another way that they can register. Now, the third way right here is I'm just bouncing over to another user in this instance right here. And I want to come up to this area. Okay, inside of the Learning Center, this is one way to access it. We can also access it up here. Right? But we go into the live events, users will have kind of a full calendar of all of the live events. So this is where the calendar is presented, and this can be turned off. Like I said, it'll come in, users can collapse it if they want, but if there are some live events, they can find the live events here. This calendar is going to show them not just live events that are being hosted internally, but also live events that are being hosted by their subscription provider. So you can see external events and internal events, okay, are designated here with the color scheme or color legend at the top. The events I'm registered for are green. I've been invited to the ones in yellow, and I've been assigned the ones in this color here. So if I want to go into one of my events, I can select it right here on the calendar, or I can use the filtering over here to find it. But if I'm just kind of hunting around, I find something I want to register for, I can come here and register for the event. Okay. All right, so this one right here, I'm seeing I think maybe I've already registered for that one. Oh, here we go. This one I haven't, so I'm going to register for this. Okay, I had two of them in here, so let me just fill out my sandwich preference, and then we'll look at the back end side of this. Okay, so this is, again, the third way that users can register. I'm going to go back into Manage Content for just a little bit so we can see now what it's going to look like for the presenter or the event organizer if they want to come in and learn about who's registered for the event, or if they want to start tracking some information for the event. They can come in here to manage content, and they can also go into the enroll users dialog. I'll show you that in a bit. But back here, the live event is going to be still in the calendar like it was before, but there'll be an option right here now to use session tracking. Session tracking allows you to get information about any registrants. It also gives you the ability to track or log more data, and also gives you the ability to view survey results and send out surveys. Okay, so right here inside of the portal now, I can see the folks that just registered for my event. I can see their sandwich preference and whether or not they have food allergies. Okay, so you get this information, inside the system. We can also report on this. I'll show you that in a minute as well. But you'll see that information. I can also, once the event starts, I can use this as a way to track who's attending. So I can use a check mark right here to say that these persons attend. And if they did attend and they took a quiz, I can come in here and put a quiz score. Okay, so I can just use that quiz score as a way to log that information. And then if somebody didn't attend, I can put a note in here. Okay, so I can just track some information. And then at the end of my event, go ahead and save. At the end of my event, I can actually send out surveys. It will only send out surveys to people who attended. So again, if somebody didn't attend, they will not get the user survey. Okay, so that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. If I come in here, I think I can show you a little bit of the survey results. I want to see how the survey results. So if somebody does complete a survey once on a past event, you can always come back at any time and kind of get that information from those folks who did complete the survey. All right. So that talks a lot about the live events, the sessions, the ability to invite, and the ability to track the information. So all of that's available inside of Manage Content. I did mention to you that it's also accessible here. So if you'll notice right here, if you go into Learning, Assessments, and Assignments, we did add the Live Events tab here as well. And this is in case you're not a content manager. Okay, let's say you don't have that platform permission to create content. You can still come in and you can still add sessions. You can still add sessions to the calendar and invite users and enroll users into events. All right, so that you'll see from there as well. The last thing around live events is the learning path reports. So we did add a couple reports into learning paths. And if you scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see 2 new reports, one for upcoming sessions and one for completed sessions. Okay, so they're very similar, but if you want to view the details, just click on the report details, use your filters as you want, and then go to the raw data. We're going to show you all of that information for that live event. And so you can report by a certain time frame if you want. And you can also come over here and get access to that same tracking information that I showed you before. Okay, so you can get access to all the registration information and any of the surveys that were completed. Okay. So again, that's added to the reports. If you need to get that information out, maybe take it into another system and do some analytics with it, or use it for whatever purpose you need. Okay, so that's the big pieces around the live events. Now I am going to cover just a couple more quick things around learning. And I'm going to go back here to my management utility, and we're going to go into learning assessments and assignments. In this area, there's a couple changes that I think are pretty important. So I'm going to talk about one that I didn't even cover in my webinars last week. But when we come into assigned courses right here, you will notice this change just a little bit. Okay, so that you can enroll people into multiple courses from multiple different learning paths, all in one step. So basically how we've changed this is if there's a course inside of a learning path, so you don't want to assign the whole learning path, maybe it's just you want to give them an overview of AutoCAD. You can select that and you can assign them to it. If there's something else in here, maybe the Civil 3D overview, you can queue up over here on the right all of the courses and or learning paths you want to enroll. And again, it doesn't have to belong to the same learning path. So you can queue it all up and then use the next option to proceed with the assignment of courses. Okay, again, this is extremely handy. I've done a lot of enrollments for our clients in the past. This is a great way to kind of expedite that whole process and get them into the courses that you want. Okay. It doesn't change from this point forward. I just wanted to point out this previous page here. I think you're going to find that quite handy. The other area that we changed right here is the auto enrollments that you're going to see. The auto enrollments was added so that organizations could automatically put people into courses and learning as they join the company or as they join other groups in their organization. So in this example here, if I want to make sure that everybody learns Productivity Now, or all of our clients or all of our new employees are introduced to Productivity Now, I can browse out and I can find that course that we're offering. So I can go through all of the courses here, find the specific one that I want. Because this is important for training, I'm going to make sure that every new employee is going to have that. What I can do then is assign it to a group. Now, these are the pinnacle groups that are in your system. These are managed in the administrator utility. But if you have a group within your organization, for example, all employees, you can use that to assign to your automatic enrollment. Okay? Any new members that get added to that group will automatically be enrolled into the training or course that you assigned. You can assign a completion date, allow some time for them to complete. This will be determined based on the time that they're enrolled. So it'll automatically put a 5-day buffer on it for them. You can identify who is going to assign it for reporting purposes. And then if they've already completed it, you can basically toggle this option on so they're not enrolled a second time. Okay. When you create the auto enrollment, it's going to live here in this dialog box. It'll live here indefinitely unless you come in and change it, modify it. But it's not going to take effect until, like I said, somebody gets added into that group. So on my system, for that to take effect, I'm going to go back here to the management utility. I'm going to go into the administrator, and there's different ways that users can get put into Pinnacle groups. Okay, the Pinnacle group that I'm looking at right here is this all employees. Okay, you see I've already created it, but there's nobody in it. Okay, I intentionally emptied it out so that I could add people in. You can kind of see how this works. So one way you can add users is you can add them manually, where I can come into this list and I can pick the top 5 or so and I can add them into this group. Now it's going to add all of those people into the enrollment if they've not already completed that particular course. Okay, so just by doing that, those people are going to automatically be enrolled. Now, likewise, over here on the Users tab, if you're using Sync with Active Directory and you're syncing groups on your system and they're getting put in these Pinnacle groups, that's another way that it will, any new member that comes into your organization will get auto-enrolled into this course, okay? Because they're going to be a new member into the tenant, new member into the group, and that will then auto-enroll, okay? So once you've completed that process and you come back here to the learning, okay, if you look for that course in here, there's the course. You will see here, this is the live enrollment. These are course enrollments I'm looking at here. So you'll see that under this learning path and course, there's 5 people that have now been registered for it or basically enrolled into it. And all those 5 people that I selected there previously. All right. So again, this is going to be a handy tool for you. It's been asked for quite a while from our users. And I think you're going to find that extremely handy for new people that come into your company. All right, now I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to go into the workgroup enhancements. All right, so the workgroup enhancements, I'm going to go into my web browser here, and I'm going to use some of these different tabs up at the top. So I know I introduced you to these tabs that I have open, but I'm going to go into this area right here. This is the Work Center. This is where a lot of changes have occurred in the interface and just the functionality of workgroups. So here inside of the Work Center, you will notice that on the far left side now, this is where you're going to manage all of your work groups. Okay? And whichever work group that you select, it'll actually make it current and it will load all of its information into the middle area. The information has been compartmentalized a little bit. So you'll see that right here, it's going to open to the assets page. Those are all of the assets that are in this work group. There will be a discussion board where you can go here and have the discussion. This used to be at the bottom. We kind of put it here so that you can have threaded conversations with folks on the team. Here's where you can manage your members. And then the dashboard is where you can customize the layout for members of the team. Okay, you're going to add some tools here, maybe some reporting and things like that that you want to share with them. You can do that on the dashboard. And then over here on the right, you can join open membership work groups. These are work groups that someone created, and they made them open so that other people in the organization can opt into them. Okay, so you'll see those over on the far right. Okay, to kind of take you down this a little bit, I'm going to take you through some of the new features, because again, this has changed quite a bit. So I'm going to cover, I think, a lot of the key items that are important to talk about here. Starting over here on the left, on the Create Work Group, you will notice an option now to create an open membership. Again, all you're doing is you're making it public to other people in your organization. So if I come in here, this is going to be one of those opt-in things. I'm going to create it. I'm going to add things to it. And anybody who wants to join who can. And as more and more things get added to it, they get notifications like other work groups. They'll be notified when new things are added or removed. But that's the open membership option. This also added an option here for dashboard visibility. I'll touch on that a little bit later when we get into the dashboard. But suffice it to say, that's another control you have as an owner of the work group. Some visibility controls inside of the system. You'll also notice an option right here to copy a work group. Again, clients have asked for the ability to take all the assets that they have in a work group and duplicate them for another one. Okay, maybe there's a couple projects that they're working on, a lot of similar assets. So you can use the copy command right here. It's going to duplicate all of the assets. It'll drop off the discussion board. It'll drop off the members, but it'll get all that core assets you've already added into the work group. Okay, so you'll notice that right there. And then, of course, the gear, the cogwheel here will get you back into that work group so you can make some modifications. As I mentioned to you, selecting a different work group over here, you can see which one's current just basically by the notch out that it has. But when you select it, it's going to load an entirely different set of assets in the middle. Now, on the Assets tab, we did change a few things here that are going to be very handy for you. First and foremost, if you go into edit the assets, you can now control, if you're the owner or the editor, you can control the order of this information that appears in the list. So if you want to move, for example, all of your learning to the top of the list, you can use these little controls on the far left to move the different materials to the top or bottom. Okay? So again, you just use these simple triggers, type in the number that you want it to appear in the list. That's going to be the default arrangement of the assets so that users can look at them in the way that you're controlling as, again, an owner or an editor to the work group. Okay, when you're done, you just hit done and they can gain access to them. You'll also see an option that was added here to assign learning. If there is a course or a learning path that was added to the work group, you can go a step further and assign members of that work group. Maybe it's everybody, maybe it's a select few. You can assign them into any of the learnings that you have. So if you want to enroll them into one, you can select it. You can assign a due date if you want, and that will send all of the assignments out. So it's just a quicker way for you to get those folks registered into those events. If you want to do it manually, you can assign it right there on the spot. Just moving over here a little bit, one thing I want to talk about, this has been in there for a little bit, but I'll mention it anyway. On the discussion area, if you add a comment, you can delete a comment. Okay, so you own that comment when you're in a work group. Also, if you're an administrator of the platform, you can also moderate and delete some of these messages. But again, other than that, it's just a communication thread that you have with your teams. Great place to post questions that you want others to see the answers to as well. On the members tab, we've done quite a few changes here with the members. The most notable is kind of the arrangement of it as far as how everybody's positioned. But when you go into edit members, we now have inline edit controls where it's really easy for you to move people around. You don't have to remove them and add them back in. You can just change their assignment right here, and that's going to move them, into the different group roles for the work group. Okay, so just another smoother editing interface for that. You can still add members. Oh, let me click on down here. You can still add members by selecting individual users or by selecting a Pinnacle group, and then you can assign them into whatever group role that you want. Okay. So that's for internal members. People within your organization can be added using the add members. You will notice a new item that was added right here. Okay, this allows you to invite external members, people who are not currently ProductivityNOW clients. Maybe they don't have a subscription, maybe they don't have a Pinnacle subscription, but you want to invite them into your work group. What you're going to give them access to are the assets that you've added over here. You're going to invite them into your discussion board, and then you can even have them, allow them to invite other people. So let me show you what that looks like here real quick. First and foremost, I already have 4 external members that are part of this work group. And those 4 external members, I can see that some of them has joined, one person's joined, the others are pending. They haven't accepted my invitation yet into the work group. But to invite someone, we just click on the invite external member, and you use their name and email address. And their email address is important. That's what we're really using. That's what they're going to use to create their Pinnacle series or their ProductivityNOW account. And then down below, you can specify their company name and 2 important options here. You can make the person that you're adding a company administrator and give them access to add other people from their company. Okay, so that you don't have to micromanagement. Maybe there's some sub-consultant who's going to have a team from his organization, his or her organization. You can add that in here, make them a company administrator for that purpose. All right, so they can add in whatever you allow. Basically, you need to keep track of some of these external members. So you will see an option up here that is your tracker to know how many external licenses you have available. Out of the box, all clients, ProductivityNOW, Pinnacle Series clients, all get 10 licenses to kind of use at your discretion, no charge. But if you go above and beyond that, then there is a fee, and you'll need to talk to your account representative about that. Very nominal, but at the same time, if you want to expand this and open it up to a lot more members, you certainly can do that. And then here's how you can manage and identify what's available in your account. All right, so when you do invite people, that is something you need to monitor and kind of be aware of as you go. All right, I'll show you what the external member experience looks like in just a bit, but suffice it to say that if you have the platform permission that's required for this, you will be able to invite the external users. One last thing I'm going to cover right here is I'm going to cover the dashboard. I'm going to bounce in and show you what the external user looks like. On this dashboard piece right here, if you're the owner of the work group, you can customize the dashboard and use widgets to customize it. And I do want to emphasize that this widget library is going to grow extensively over the coming months. The default, though, is to give you started in this widgetized environment. And so if you want to pull things into this, you can drag and drop these widgets into the environment. And these widgets will allow you to do things like show workgroup usage, or you can actually pull in other tabs of the same type, and you can use the gears up here to specify if you want to use a chart view or a tabular view. Okay, so these widgets are going to, primarily be centered around reporting and getting information out of the system. You just drag and drop the widget onto the page, and then you can decide who in your work group can see this information. So once you're done editing the dashboard, if you're the owner of the work group, you can set visibility to who can see the dashboard. Okay, so maybe other editors want to know who's using what they're clicking on, and then you have that option, of course, to share it with other members, even the external team members. Okay? But that's the dashboard. It's going to continue to be advanced with more and more features within the platform, information. So if you have ideas and thoughts, share them, with whoever your business associate is that you're working with, that imagine it, so that we know, what your ideas are, and we can make sure to give them consideration into the platform. Okay. All right. The last piece I didn't cover over here to the right is I did mention you have the ability to join these external groups. I just want to show you what this looks like. If you click on these groups, these are open membership groups. If you read the description, you want to join the group, you click yes. It will disappear from the list on the right, and it will appear in your list over here on the left. Okay, so that's how you can join those open membership groups. Okay. But those are the changes that we made to the work groups. Again, quite a few things right here, but we've taken a lot of that input that we've got to incorporate what we thought was really useful tools for you to get more value out of the platform. All right. So as far as the end user is concerned, I just want to show this quick for those folks who are kind of following through and have interest in inviting external members. As an external member, when they sign in to the platform, they'll have an invitation to join the work group, and they'll have to set a password when they go into the platform, and they'll have to manage their password separately. But when they get into the platform, it'll look very much like this right here. I'm signed in under a member that belongs to 2 different work groups. So what they have access to is basically all of the assets that you put into the work group. They have live access to the discussion board for that work group, and they can view all of the members that are invited into the work group. Okay, so it's a real scaled down version of the platform, just enough to get them in there to those assets and communications that you have. Over here on the right, notifications, they get notifications just like other folks. So if new assets are added, or if somebody makes a comment, that notification will be triggered, and that can actually trigger an email notification as well. They have a full user profile where they can come in and specify if they want to get the notifications, and they can also specify other elements like the language preference they have if they want to use something other than English. So that's the external user experience, if you will, of how they're going to see, manage, and access the content in the work group. Right. One more thing I want to point out before I leave this topic, I did mention before there's a platform permission for this. So on the permissions tab, there's a new item added right here. I'm going to circle it with my cursor. So if you have this permission, you can invite people, external users, into into your work groups. I will point out that licenses are only needed for someone who's not already on a subscription, whether it's a ProductivityNOW subscription or Pinnacle subscription. So it's only going to be needed for folks who are not currently on subscription with a platform client. All right. So that covers the work groups. Now I'm going to switch gears and talk a little bit about the customization. So let me go back into my tenant here, and let's go to my home page. Previously, in a previous update of the Pinnacle series and ProductivityNOW, we've added the ability to do your customization and branding. It's right over here under the cog wheel. To gain access to this, you need to be a platform administrator. Okay, so not everybody's going to see this, but if you are an administrator, you'll see an option here for branding and customization. This allows you to go in and brand the platform. So you can do branding and theming over here. That's the page I'm on right now. Or you can build your own layout to the platform. This is going to get into that widgetized environment that you heard me say a couple times. On the branding and themes, first and foremost, I'm not going to change anything. I just want to talk about it. The branding and themes is where you go to add your logo at the top of the platform. It's where you go to add your news items that display here on the home page. So anything company news is what you can customize in the platform right here. Okay, that really hasn't changed in the platform. Same thing with the themes down below. You can build your own themes that allow you to color code different items. So selecting a different theme, you'll see there's different colors that can be applied to different areas of the page, and you can even assign different images for the asset cards that are used. Right? So that's the theming piece. Again, it's not new. It's just been a little separated from the next piece I'm going to show you right here. This Layouts and Assignments tab, this is what we've customized in the platform so that you can really tailor the home page and the Learning Center to what you want your folks to see. So when this is toggled on, it's going to let you know that you're going into this widgetized mode. So basically, you're leaving the out-of-the-box configuration and you're going into a widget mode, and you see the default right here is the EP default, which is set up very similar to the normal layout. Okay, so all of these items that you see on the page are actually widgets. This is like the company news widget. This is my asset library. Right, so you can customize what you're seeing here. So this is what's loaded by default, but if I want to look at another one I've worked on, okay, this is for my company, you'll see this one here, I moved some things, changed the coloring scheme, moved some things on the page, so my picture's over here on the left, but I can totally customize what I see on that page. So you can build these different layouts, and these layouts are applied, like I said, to the home screen or the working center or the Learning Center. So those two areas are the places that you can customize. How you make these customizations is you can create the layout that you want right here. So you want to build a brand new layout. I'll create a new layout. You can design either your home page or Learning Center. Both of these layouts are going to be saved under the layout name that you provide. So for example, if you want to build up your home screen, specify the home screen first. The widget library is down below. Okay, so you'll see quite a few widgets that you can add into the system. All you have to do is drag the widget from over there on the left, drag it onto the page where you want it to appear. Okay, and that's how you're going to customize it. The widget library has all of the same features you see on our homepage, but you'll see more things pop into this widget library. Okay, again, if you have ideas, share them with your account representatives so that we can get that information in the platform. We can at least consider it. All right, but pull the information that you want from there onto your page. And again, if you want to change things around just a little bit, you can move items around. You can put your asset library. If you want to build that, you can pull that onto the screen as well. And if you want to put your add-ons, I'll just throw a couple things here on my page. All right, when you're ready to save it, you just click Save. And now you have a new layout that you've created. It's not live yet, but you've created a layout that you can tinker with, continue to build up. Right? You can go back and edit it again and switch it over to the Learning Center and do the same thing for the Learning Center. Okay, so you just pull the widgets over there. When someone goes to the Learning Center, they'll see exactly what you have set up here. How you apply the theme, real quick here. Right now, you'll see that the current layout of my platform, this is what everybody in my platform is seeing. That's the current layout right now. This is what I'm actually looking at on the screen. So if I go back to my home screen here, if I want this new layout applied to everybody in my organization, I can select it and then click the apply button there. Okay? Again, that's going to make everybody in my company see this. You have some granularity here. You can actually use group layouts if you want to just make this visible to certain people because you're not sure if it's correct yet. You want someone to take a peek at it. You can come in here and you can assign it to different folks in your organization. Okay, so I can assign it to all my administrators. Anybody who's administrating a platform, I can assign a custom layout. And you can pick and choose based on the Pinnacle group that a user belongs to, what interface they're going to see in the platform. Okay? Because you might have teams that only want very specific things. Okay? We want to make it simple, clean for certain groups of people. This is how you can do it, is through these assignments here. All right, so you can assign them. The moment you assign them, they're going to go live for those individuals. they will start to see whatever layouts you provide. And if you don't assign anything, I just want to emphasize this, if nothing is assigned, like a lot of the roles I have here, you'll see they're going to use the default arrangement. Okay. But basically now, if I come in here, because I'm administrator of the platform, when I go into my platform, I can start to see exactly what that arrangement looks like. Okay, so it's going to load that environment onto my system and give me that opportunity to see it just like I set it up. So there's a lot of flexibility here. I know I didn't make something that looks really pretty, but there's a lot of flexibility for you to tailor this. And like I said before, there are different factions within the organization. Maybe need to see different pieces of it, but you have full control of it here through those customizations. You do need, again, to be the administrator of the platform to get access to these customizations. All right, so I think I covered everything. I went a little bit longer, so I apologize for that, but I would like to kind of circle back now. I don't know what questions came in, but I'd like to take some time. I can stick around a little longer if need be, since I kind of ran up against the end of the hour, but would like to take a look at any questions you have and spend some time now answering those questions.
Great.
Well, thank you, Don.
Reminder. Yep, just a reminder to everyone, you can put questions into the Q&A pane located in the bottom right-hand side corner of your screen, or if you're viewing full screen, toggle over the bottom, look for the one that looks like a question mark.
So thank you, Don. That was a great overview and great detail on how to set up these new functions and features within the platform. I think as everybody is either completely blown away or you've done such a great job that, to date, so far we haven't received any questions. But a couple of things that I know I've been asked by others that I'll throw out there. As Don mentioned, we are providing up to 10 licenses of the external users to the workgroup function out of the box. And then after that, you just need to reach out to your account rep with Imaginet to set up additional. There is a small fee for additional beyond that. The other question that I've had out there is, just overall for tracking. And as Don showed, there's a lot of the report functionality in the system, and it allows you to very quickly go back and review and get status on that, so that as you continue to monitor those external users from that standpoint. So Don, again, thank you very much. It was great. Really appreciate your time and helping us out on here. To wrap things up, a couple things, to get more information, as we said, all these features and functions are within our Productivity Now professional platform today. If you're not seeing them and you want to find out, where do I get the access, or what do I need to do to get access to some of these functions, for instance, if you're a Productivity Now standard user, things like that, there's several ways you can get more information. Within the Productivity Now platform, in the Pinnacle Series content library, we've got additional details on how to set it up and use the different functions from that standpoint. You can also reach out to your Productivity Now Success Advisor here at Imaginet, or use the support chat function to get a hold of someone within our organization to help answer questions and guide you down that path. And of course, your Imaginet sales representative can be a go-to resource as well. So Jenna, so far, have there been any more?
There was one question that someone asked if there were documents that went into detail of everything we went over today, and Todd noted that all of the documentation and training are actually within the platform itself.
Yep, perfect. Okay. Well, great. Well, if there are no other questions, I appreciate everybody taking the time to stick around and joining us for the presentation. Don, again, thank you very much. We really appreciate Eagle Point helping us out and taking the time to walk all of our clients through these great changes that I think, just as I mentioned in the beginning of the call, bring the platform and the functionality for our users just to a whole nother level. So thank you very much, and I thank everybody again for joining us. If there are questions, feel free to reach out to us at the support@RAND.com, or just shoot us an email.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.